everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Orinda and I'm a Dutch expat who lives in England. And today I would like to talk about the Delta Works. And the Delta Works are 17 constructions in the Netherlands who will keep the Netherlands dry. Well, how have this been started? It started because in 1953 we had a very bad storm coming from England, and it was that bad that it overflooded half of the Netherlands. And that's what I hear a lot of foreigners asking me of how can that be happening. And I always thought the Netherlands is all of it is on the sea level. Well, that's not true. The Netherlands is only half on the sea level, and those are the counties of the coast. So North Holland, South Holland, and Zeeland. So now you're probably asking where New Zealand's name New Zealand is coming from. That's because of the province Zeeland. And the Dutch had a part of discovering and trade in New Zealand. The other thing is, I already made a video about this, and that is that you can't call the Netherlands Holland. It only is because North and South Holland, the two provinces also on the coast of the Netherlands, they are the busiest counties of work and trade. In those provinces of counties are, of course, the capital, Amsterdam. But we always also have the biggest trade and harbor of Europe, and that's Rotterdam. And then you have Den Haag, where the parliaments are, parliament seats, and but also that's the tribunal of Kosovo and other trials against human rights. So we had this very bad storm, and so those three provinces and also a part of Utrecht was underwater. But there were already plans to making those constructions, because the government saw, okay, we have to do something because a big storm will happen and we will lose a lot of people, etc. So that is what happened. And so in 1954 till 1972, they made 13 constructions in Zeeland and in North Holland and South Holland to protect the Netherlands. And let us say, go on YouTube, type in Delta Works, and you will find video recordings of those constructions, how it made, etc. The years after that, they invented other things, like in Rotterdam they have special closings barriers to don't let the water come high in Rotterdam, because Rotterdam is also near the water or at the water. So if they didn't do that, Rotterdam could be underwater as soon as with a small storm. Um, but there are other things too. And one of the other things that it's a bit of two sides of the coin. So you got the Delta Works to keep the Netherlands dry, and you have us gaining land of um, reclaiming land from the water. And that means also that what used to be salt water is now sweet fresh water. And there is a part, we even have a county that is gained like that, Flevoland. And it is like, you can say, I think we Dutch people are proud of that. What I'm going to do now is show you a bit of how that looks like. And Simon and I we are going to the Netherlands in November, and we are going to go visit the Delta Works, some of the Delta Works. So I will make videos about that too, and I will share it with you guys. I must say I have been grown up with it, so I know I have been there. One of the biggest one is Neeltje Jans, that one, what you see now. And hold on, let me see if I can pause that. I don't know if I can pause that. No, I don't think I can pause that, to be honest. It's very, very massive, and is quite, that is this one. It's quite impressive in how it works. And there is a little bit of a museum information center on Neeltje Jans, so you can be interactive with what they got there. It's lovely for the kids. But they show you how this was also the center to have everything in miniature, so they can try it out. But if you see the little videos, what I can do is see if I can find a short one, because it is very impressive to see how it's been made. And that is one of the reasons my husband would love to see it for real. Basically, it's also a thing that we Dutch are famous of. There are a lot of countries nowadays who are coming to the Netherlands and try work together how they can provide and keep people safe in high water or risk area. To keep the people safe. Sorry, have to think about it. 1 minute. So I have two little videos for you. That is make a little bit easier to understand. And this is the one I meant about in Rotterdam. So that is one part of the Delta Works. This one is a later construction, I believe. I believe it was in 19. Yeah. It wasn't in 1997. I can't remember. But okay, let me show you the other video as well.
1,000 classes that could teach you a new life skill. The first 500 people to sign up with the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial. On a cold and stormy morning in January 1953, the Princess Victoria ferry was preparing to leave its dock in Stranraer on the southwest coast of Scotland, despite gale force warnings. An hour into its journey, its captain radioed for help as the storm forced the ferry on its side, making it impossible to board the lifeboats. Of the 176 people aboard the Princess Victoria, only 43 survived. But there was more tragedy to come. This storm was headed south towards the Netherlands, and with the moon and sun causing even higher tides, this storm would severely test the flood defences of the Netherlands, which was still getting back on its feet after the Second World War. The storm would ultimately claim the lives of 1,835 people in the Netherlands, along with 200,000 cattle and flooding 2,000 square kilometres of land, destroying 43,000 homes and forcing 72,000 people to flee. Today we're going to learn why this happened and how it sparked the construction of one of the 7 modern wonders of the world, the Dutch Delta Works. After World War II, the meandering levees on the coast of the Netherlands had fallen into disrepair. The Netherlands were just getting back onto their feet after 5 years of German occupation, just 8 years prior to the storm. The poorly maintained flood defences were a disaster waiting to happen. As the storm approached, it forced water inland with nowhere to go but up. This put intense pressure on the dikes and levees of the Low Countries, and by storm's end, 139 kilometres of levees would be heavily damaged, with holes up to 3.5 kilometres being torn open. With nearly 26% of the Netherlands' land area being under sea level, seawater burst through these breaches with immense strength, causing damage that would take decades to repair, and would spur the formation of the Delta Committee just 20 days later, to ensure this could never happen again, and this is what they came up with. The new Delta plan would shorten the Dutch coastline by 700 kilometres by closing the primary inlets in these 4 locations. This would drastically reduce the length of levees and dikes that needed to be inspected and maintained, and thus decreasing the chances of weak points jeopardising the safety of the Dutch people. However, this was no easy task and would come with an enormous cost. Before these works could be completed, additional barriers needed to be erected upstream to improve fresh and saltwater management and prevent fresh water emptying from the Rhine, Meuse and Scheldt River from redirecting around these new dams. The northernmost closure dam also needed to be equipped with a hydraulic sluice capable of dealing with the output of the Rhine River, as this fresh water would flood the Netherlands from the other direction if it was prevented from emptying into the North Sea. On top of all this, a number of ports such as the port of Rotterdam and the port of Antwerp had to stay accessible. So aside from the fixed dams, bridges and sluices, 2 new locks that would allow an inland ship route between Antwerp and Rotterdam needed to be built. Amazingly, on top of all this work, the Dutch still managed to consider the environmental impact of this work. The largest of the structures built for the Delta Works project, the Oosterschelde Storm Surge Barrier, was originally planned to completely close the mouth of this river, which would create a freshwater basin. However, resistance to this plan arose as it would completely change the saltwater environment of the area. The Oosterschelde scenery is unique with a great variety of fish, water plants and animals, so in 1976 the Dutch government agreed to a different plan, building an open barrier that could be closed during heavy storms and high tides, adding another €2.5 billion to the cost of the project. This barrier is 9 kilometers long with 62 openings, each 40 meters wide, allowing the tidal movement to remain intact. To build a structure this massive that needs to not only support its own weight, but the enormous force of a storm surge pushing against it, would require extensive foundations. The first part of these foundations were created by forming two islands, the biggest of which housing a lock to allow ships to pass through the barrier. This island even included a massive dry dock to construct the 65 pylons needed to support the sluice gates, each using 7,000 cubic meters of concrete and taking 1.5 years to build. Between each island a trench was dug. On both sides of the trench, mats were placed to keep the seabed in place, while specially built ships were then used to consolidate the sand at the bottom of the trench using special vibrating needles. The sand would be vibrated to pack the sand firmly together, creating a surface that could carry the weight of the massive pylons. The trench itself was then covered with specially made mats filled with rocks to prevent erosion of the underlying sand. The pylons were left hollow so they could be picked up by another purpose-built U-shaped ship and moved into place. There, inside of the trench, on top of the mats, they would be lowered, filled with sand and closed with concrete. The wide foot of each pylon was packed in stone, as it is vital the pylons never move, because if even one of the massive 260 to 480 ton doors cannot move, the current in that location could become enormous and potentially damage the structure. Finally, these enormous hydraulic pistons were attached to the sluice gates, allowing 3 kilometers of the 9 kilometer long storm surge barrier to open and close on demand. This project truly is one of the modern wonders of the world, allowing the Dutch to rule the tide and ensure the chances of another devastating flood are dramatically reduced. But with sea levels continuing to rise and warmer seas causing even stronger storms,